Hey YouTube, welcome back in. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Thanks for checking out another episode. In today's video, I want to give you guys just a little bit of an update on what's going on around the CDL in terms of roster mania and free agency. I also want to take a look at the latest news, notes, rumors, and give you just kind of my thoughts overall and where teams will be basically in power rankings. Like, do I think a team is good? Do I think that these are good moves for them based on the latest rumors, news, and notes? So first of all, just some updates. This tweet is from the Florida Mutineers. They have gotten rid of Mox and Frosty. Mox was obviously one that people probably figured would be let go since he didn't play the latter half of the season. And then Frosty is one where it just becomes a thing where there's not enough space, right? When you have Skies there, when you have Awakening and how he's end up playing. Now, Pharaoh's one that we're not quite sure what's going to happen with Pharaoh. We'll talk about that in a second. But Mox and Frosty are officially out from Florida. Another one here, and again, this is interesting when it comes to Pharaoh. So this is a reply to CDL Intel. They said, pretty sure I just saw Pharaoh with New York subliners from a Crim6 stream. And that's correct. So Ferocities did have this as his label. So he just had New York subliners. But who knows, right? This can be anything. This could literally just be a troll job. So you never quite know what's going on here. But who knows? I guess the possibility is there. At least the rumor's there, right? If not for anything else, it does confirm that there is talks going around, so obviously he's aware of it, and maybe he's playing into it. Maybe, I mean, who knows? Probably just a troll job, but we'll see. After that, next thing is what about Skies? CDL Intel, again, just says that he's staying on Florida. I couldn't imagine Skies going anywhere. There was a clip saying maybe it would be nice to run a flex, and there was people started thinking, well, maybe he'll go to Chicago in that flex role, but since that has been walked back a little bit, I'm sure if you're Florida, you don't want to get rid of Skies, right? I mean, he was basically a top option for league MVP. I mean, there's not too many players that were better than him. One of the top ARs in the game, probably him and Octane you would put up there towards the top. So if you're Florida, you can't get rid of him. It would be really tough to start over without him. Moving on, this has, again, we've talked about this in previous videos, but London did make it official. We're delighted to confirm that Shawnee Cod will be with us next CDL season, and this is the first one. So Shawnee does return, and this is the first one that we've really heard of. Shawnee did have a reply to this, which was pretty good. I like that he's appreciative, and he talks about the fact that he's coming off the bench. Like right here, it said, happy to announce I have signed for season 2 with the London Royal Ravens. Can't wait to get started next year. Started from the bench to get here. Couldn't be more grateful. I worked hard for this. So I don't know. I love when pros are humble. I love when they're appreciative of the spot that they're in and the opportunity that they're given. So I'm happy for Shawnee. He seems like a great guy. I love the interview that he did with the Hex podcast before championship weekend. So I'm happy for him. We'll see who they end up teaming with. I do think that there are some ideas out there, but last but not least, and this is about a day old now, but Optic did resign Slasher, Kenny, and Draza. They say that there's more coming soon. So still trying to figure out what's going on with Draza. Will he be a sub? Will he be actually in a starting role? We'll figure it out eventually as this all starts to unwind. Remember, free agency starts the 14th. So that's when players can actually start signing. So I would look for that date for some things to really come down the pipeline. That's when I think these rosters are going to be put together. But as of right now, CDL Intel did release their kind of latest news, notes, rumors, and what squads are looking like. So I want to go ahead and just react to these a little bit. So the first one at the top, a BZ Simp Celium Arcides, best team in the league in my opinion, but this has long had been, like, this is the rumor that we've been talking about and breaking down. So nothing new there. Dallas roster, Hugh, Shotzi, Illy, Crim. Exactly what we expect it to be. Chicago, Envoy, Scum, Dashy, Formal. Obviously, the one that we're not sure of here is Dashy, but it seems to be going that way. If I'm Chicago, I'm throwing everything out there trying to get PRIESTAHH. Doesn't seem like it's going to come to fruition that way, but that's just where I would go. The first interesting one here is Minnesota, because the first thing that I noticed is that they aren't keeping any of their own players. When I was on that podcast, I said maybe you would keep an Assault because he played so well, but there might be some timing issues and stuff going on there with Assault. But when it comes to Minnesota, This is a pretty good lineup. There are some role issues here. So the two SMGs on the left would be Priestahh and Attach. Obviously, this is a natural position for Attach, but Priestahh is more like a super fast flex player. So he would just be going to SMG, and that is what it is. They'd be bringing over Major Maniac, who obviously was the mainstay at AR for the Atlanta phase, and it looks like he would probably have to be flexed because their main AR would be accuracy. So I don't know. This is intriguing to me. If you're Minnesota, if I could get these four players, I probably go for it, just for the simple fact that you could get a name like Priestahh, you could get the pedigree of Attach, Major Maniac, and accuracy, just even keel players. Major Maniac obviously wasn't the best AR in the league, but he's absolutely solid and can give you good minutes, right? He's not going to end up... So the way I look at this, he's not going to end up winning matches for you, but he's not going to end up losing matches for you either. And sometimes you really need players like that. So I am super intrigued by this Minnesota roster. If they're able to land this, I think that this is a good move. I think it definitely makes them a better roster than what they had towards the end of Modern Warfare. And that could be, you know, that's really what you're striving for if you're one of these organizations. After that, LA Guerrillas, this kind of just looks like a mismatch of just all the teams and the names that are out there. First thing that I noticed is Silly and Assault. So that duo would be coming over from Minnesota. Would be a decent move, right? Silly really didn't play all that well in Modern Warfare. He ended the season with like a 0.7, 0.8 KD. So especially down the stretch there, he really didn't play well. But this is a new game. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. So that would be a decent move. Apathy would come over from Seattle. Vivid is there. I mean... It is what it is, right? It's one of those rosters that seems like you're pulling from a few different scrap pieces from other teams that have been left, but you never know. I do think that it puts them automatically in a better position that they were in at the end of Modern Warfare, so there's absolutely that. The Seattle roster, I really like the combination of the flex of Gunless and the main AR of Octane. I think that puts them as, it's got to be, if you're just looking at flex and AR, it's got to put them in the top 6, right? The top half of the league just from those two positions. Where it gets a little bit sketchy is when you look at Pristini and Looney. Obviously, Looney hasn't really played in quite some time. He was a substitute, but still being thrown in a starting roster could be great, could be something that doesn't work out. We don't really know. And Pristini's there. Pristini played pretty well down the stretch for Chicago, but he wasn't an Abizi, a Simp, a Shotzzy, an Envoy, a Scump, right? He didn't play at that level. So decent SMGs here with pretty good flex and AR. As we move on, I think Toronto looks great. I think CleanX and Bance are two just... Towards the end of Modern Warfare, they look tremendous, especially CleanX, and you have to say that for Cammy also. CleanX and Cammy were absolutely unbelievable towards the end of Modern Warfare. That's part of the reason why they were able to make that stretch run down towards the end there. With Methods, of course, you can't get rid of Methods. He's kind of like the mainstay on that organization. So I like this roster overall. I think it's easily top 6 in the league, and we'll see what ends up happening from there. LA Optic... Of course, we know the rumors of TJ, Kenny, and Slasher. Does Draza end up starting here in a flex type role? Who knows? Are they still going for a Priestahh? I think Priestahh would be the best option for them here. But overall, this is a decent roster. If they get better connections, if this is online, then maybe they play out of Texas more. And I think that would really help their standings overall. But if they're able to get a good flex in there like a Priestahh, I don't see why this isn't a top 6 roster either. Moving on to New York, Zuma, Mac, Clay, and we don't really quite know what they're going to do at flex. So Pharaoh has been rumored a little bit. We covered that earlier on in this video. The other one that's interesting here, and we've heard Clayster talk about it, we've heard a couple other people talk about it, would be the AM scene going the route of Hydra. If they plugged him in there, it would just be, does he end up working out in the same way that Shotzzy did? I know it's a little bit of a different role, but... if that's a risk you're willing to take, I think Zuma, Mac, and Clayster, obviously we know what they're capable of. There's no reason why this shouldn't be a top 6 team in the league. But if they have Pharaoh, then obviously they're pretty tough, right? If they add an AM like Hydra, it'll just depend on how he ends up playing overall. Big one here would be Florida, because you have penciled in Awakening and Skies. you're not really quite sure what to do with those other two pieces. Even if Pharaoh does resign, again, we don't quite know what's going to go on with that other SMG position. So this one's interesting to me. Do they end up bringing back somebody, the last person from their roster overall? Do they bring in an AM? Do they bring in a piece that's been dropped from somebody else, an Asim, somebody like that? I mean, I don't know. This is a tough one. So I think if you have Awakening, Pharaoh, and Skies, then they're going to be pretty dangerous. But then if they don't get Pharaoh, that's two places they have to fill. Awakening and Skies, we all know what they're capable of, so they have two of the four pieces already. It'll just be who ends up filling those other two pieces. London, this is one that I'm interested in as well. Shawnee, Alex, and Dylan. So the matchup of those three on that EU squad, I think that would be pretty awesome. Again, there's still holes to fill. The other thing that I'll mention here is that I don't think that this automatically puts them as a top 6 roster. If you're looking at the ARs in this right column over here, is Shawnee in the top 6 right away? I don't know, maybe not. Is Dylan and Alex kind of in the top 6 in either of these columns? I'm not sure, right? So I think it's a good mix of talent. I love just overall, I love the storylines and where they're from and representing, you know, EU and their city and stuff like that. I think it's a good move. I'm just not sure where it places them overall in terms of initial power rankings. And then Paris, who knows? Obviously, CDL Intel put Hydra in here. Again, that has been rumored to go to New York. If he doesn't go to New York, if Pharaoh goes there, then I don't see why you wouldn't just take a shot on Hydra here. Pred has also been mentioned. And then do you bring people back? Do you bring back Zed? Do you bring back Dens? I mean, Luca seems like he seems to be on his way out. I'm not sure there's a spot for Luca. Kismet, there's been no mentions of Kismet being anywhere either. So this Paris Legion squad, you would definitely off the rip say it's like a bottom 6. Along with that Gorilla squad is probably a bottom 6. London, probably a bottom 6. So there are some good storylines here. I'm really interested to see what happens with PRIESTAHH. If Minnesota gets that roster of PRIESTAHH, Attach, Major Maniac, and Accuracy, I think they could be pretty dangerous. I mean, you have the championship caliber there with Attach. You have PRIESTAHH, who, if he's in a faster type role, obviously a faster flex role would be best for him. The only issue is what happens with Major Maniac there, right? Is he able to run a flex while Accuracy runs an AR? There is a little bit of a role clash there, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm here for it. I can't wait to see what ends up happening over the last 4 days or so. Free agency is only a few days away, so make sure if you're new around here, you end up hitting that subscribe button so that as these news, notes, rumors come out, we're going to be here to break it all down. Comments down below. What do you think? Are you interested in what's going on with that Minnesota roster? What do you think about Gunless and Octane? I mean, there's so many storylines here. Where does Pharaoh end up? Does he go to New York? Does he stick with Florida? Again, there's so much here, but if you're new, hit that subscribe button, comments, leave them down below. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Leave a like, it helps out the channel. With that, thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.